Welcome to this webinar about weddings, and quite a lot of things we're going to talk about this morning, but I hope you find it helpful. And you will see later today my colleague Kathy Myers, who is a very important part of our team, who's going to talk to us a little bit about some of the things we've been doing nationally recently. So just to set the scene about weddings, many of you may have seen these images before. You may have forgotten that I show them. Imagine, if you will, for a moment this, and imagine that you are watching the Lloyds Bank advert. That's the black horse, in case you weren't too sure. The black horse that gallops through every scene of people's lives. And indeed, the first advert from Lloyds Bank using this particular slogan showed a baby being born, as we see here, showed a couple getting married, and showed a funeral as well. And then they would say, by your side, for every generation. Now, one of the things that I think when I see that advert is I get cross, because I think that should be us saying that as the Church of England, because we are by people's sides for these crucially important moments in their life. But also in the images today, we have a picture of Tom Pearson. Tom is standing in what is the busiest Costa in the world, although at that point he looks like he's standing there in lockdown, and it was a quiet moment. This is the busiest Costa in the world by volume of sales, and it's located on the quietest motorway in the country, the M6 toll road, which is probably absolutely deserted at the moment, except for lorries travelling around. So it's a really interesting thing just to remember that Costa know that that is the busiest Costa in the world. They know it because they actually count and value all the customers who go there, even though they are simply passing through. Costa have no idea whether a customer who goes in on the motorway services will ever attend another Costa in their community, in their neighbourhood, on their journeys in the future at all. They don't know if that will be a one-off experience. They don't know if it's the first time they've ever had a Costa coffee or the 10,000th time, as for some of us. It doesn't matter. They get the same experience wherever they go. And Costa count those people so that they know they're part of their overall story. Those things help us to think today about what we're going to talk about. And it is good news. And we need some things to talk about that are good news in this challenging situation that we're in. And we're placing everything that we're doing at the moment under the whole umbrella of opening the doors as a church, not physically, but really having an attitude of openness to everyone who comes to us, to celebrate the fact that there are couples who still want to be married with us, but also to think about how we recover, and I'll explain what it is that we may have lost in the last year, to recover our place in the world of weddings and marriage. We'll talk a bit about what's happening this year, and quite a lot about what will happen next year and the year after. Don't forget, type in your questions into the box during the webinar. So I'm going to start in a minute by talking about why weddings matter to us as a church. I don't usually start there, but this time I want to start by talking about that, and then a little bit about why they matter to couples. Church weddings matter to couples. What are the moments that we can focus on? And then we're going to do a little bit, and Kathy will come in on this, about building wedding ministry into the future. And that will include talking about publicity and communication. An awful lot of headlines in about half an hour of content, and then half an hour or so, 25 minutes of discussion and questions. We've lived through the most incredible 12 months nearly already, and that's had a huge impact. And this year will continue to have an impact on wedding ministry. It's had an impact, obviously, on the kind of ceremony that a couple can have. So many couples have got, and those who support them, have gone through this huge up and down of can we, can't we? Oh, we can. No, we can't. Oh, yes, we can. No, we can't. We can have this many guests. We can't. Lots of changes in that and how we respond to it, and the sense of what matters about that ceremony as well. There's also a challenge, particularly going through this year into next year, of what's available. And those who've postponed weddings, lots of wedding put into this year. But then what happens to those who now decide they want to get married? Is there any capacity? Can they get married this year if they hadn't already made a plan? For us as a church, weddings have a significant impact, as I will say, on what I'm calling reach, resisting the temptation of that moment to do something from S Club 7. Reach is the way in which the Church of England touches people's lives, and people's lives touch ours in ways that we really often don't count particularly well. So we'll think about that. or think about the relationships that we make and how we offer care at this time. So why do weddings matter to the Church of England? You might think it's a pretty obvious answer to that. But there's a number of things I've put up here. And the first, perhaps the simplest thing to remind us all, is that marriage matters to us. It matters to us as Christians in our faith. It matters to us as the Church of England. Lots of research shows us that both marriage is the best human institution we have for flourishing, for family life. And we also know that lots of people really like to be married, and that marriage now is very much seen as the crown on a relationship, the pinnacle of a commitment to one another. And in fact, we're part of the group of churches and other organisations that support Marriage Matters Week, which this year happens between the 11th to the 17th of May. And there'll be various interesting and creative things around at that time, particularly looking at what it means to have what we might call micro weddings this year, in order to focus on what really matters at that time. But apart from the fact that we are committed to seeing people married, we also meet a huge number of people through weddings. Although it's been declining steadily now for a long time, in 2019, we would have met and had conversations with something like 60,000 people because of weddings. And when we say meet people, we don't just mean the little bit of contact we might have with them when we bump into them in the street or even bump into them at the end of a service. We actually mean that we have proper, serious conversations with people about things that matter in life, big questions, big feelings, things like love, commitment, money, death, faith, doubt. All these things can come into conversations with wedding couples. We don't just talk to a bride and a groom for 10 minutes. We're often interacting with them for up to 3-4 hours or more. That's incredible number of people. So it matters to us because we get that contact with people. But also there's a huge group of people that I am calling today the people who meet us. These are the ones that come through the door, many of whom may not have been in a church before and not realise that it's a living, working building. Many of whom are in the age group kind of 18 to 40, an age group the church struggles to make contact with. And even if there was only an average of 50 people at a wedding, that would give us 1.5 million, more likely to be 2 million plus, which is similar in number to the number of people that attend Christmas services each year. I sometimes think, what if we put the same energy into wedding congregations as we do into our Christmas congregations? What impact might we have? What if people left a wedding knowing how to get in touch with us in the future? It's a huge amount of reach. That's where we've had a big impact in the last year. Of course, one of the other things that we don't talk about very often, but is relevant, particularly in the year we're in, is weddings are income generators for churches as well. There are churches who have managed to employ administrators based on the fee income that they get from weddings. So it's worth holding that in mind, particularly when we come to talk about developing and growing wedding ministry. So why do weddings matter to couples? And why do church weddings matter to couples? 4 reasons I've put here. Obvious one, love, what I call that journey to marriage, that sense that nowadays people will meet someone, most couples meet someone, fall in love, they may move in together, they may have children together, and then they will get married as a crown on their relationship. For others, they will get married and then have children. There's all sorts of different permutations, but for people at the moment, we know that that journey to marriage is important and love is important. But also when it comes to thinking about a wedding, place is important. And we know from our most recent research that what couples are looking for is a place that has meaning to them. And that meaning might be historical meaning or it might be personal meaning. They look for words that have significance to them, that are said and spoken in the day, and they want to build a bank of memories that they can treasure, that mean they've had a special experience. So when we're thinking about places and where churches fit into this, what we know is that couples look for this meaning around a place. Now, actually meaning can be history. there's something about couples making a choice between a church and a castle as opposed to a church and the local hotel that was built 10 years ago. They're looking for that sense of story, a place that's borne witness to marriage, to family life, and to love over many, many generations, even centuries. Churches have that sense of meaning. But also for many couples, they'll be looking for a place that has a family significance. We know that there are people that will come to us in our churches, ring us up and say, oh, I'd like to, can I book your church for my wedding? And you say, oh, that's really interesting. What's your link with it? Well, my grandma and granddad were married there. My grandma and granddad are buried there. Oh, I was a child and we grew up nearby. And that leads us on to that personal significance. Sometimes there appears to be no connection at all until you go a bit further. And sometimes it's because this is the place where we came on our first date, or this is the place where we always came on holiday when I was a child, and it means so much to me. I remember. And finding out why a place has meaning is really important. And then actually, it has spiritual significance as well. One of my favourite stories is of a couple I was talking to, no real church connection, about why they wanted to get married in church. And it was the groom who said to me, well, he said, the thing is about the church, he says, only good things happen there. And he contrasted it to a wedding he'd been to at a local hotel. And he said, in the hotel, there's been the car show, cars on show the week before, the bingo's been played in there, the dog show was held in there, all sorts of things have happened in that hotel. He said, we're in the church, good things happen. Now, he didn't have any language to talk about the fact that the word of God is permeating the very fabric of the place, that for centuries the good news has been proclaimed there. But he was hankering after something that gave that building significance, and that will include a spiritual significance. So making a connection to place is really important. But the experience matters as well, the building of memories. Huge amount of research, quite a lot out at the moment, about why memory is really important to humans, how it helps us to make sense of our lives, how it helps us to tell the stories of our lives. So people want to leave their wedding with a bank of memories that mean they've had a special day. It's been significant for them. It's felt like it was about for them. And increasingly, I realise that the word personal means that it has to have been relational. It has to have a sense that there was connection in there, that people cared about you and cared about what happened to you. And a word that we find people use a lot in reference to churches and church weddings is that it was proper or even traditional, which doesn't mean old-fashioned, but means something like stood the test of time, or even hallowed by use, which is a nice way to think about it. So how do we build bridges between where we think weddings are and where couples might do? Well, really, I could probably only put one word here, but it's a slide in a PowerPoint, so I felt I should put a few more sentences. But absolutely core to how we build a bridge with couples is relationship. And underpinning that relationship is communication. And then the memories that they build, not just of the day, but of that relationship with God and God's people, often mitigated through the people they meet, which will include the people from the church, and especially the clergy person, the minister. So as they come back when they're able to have a wedding, those who've already booked this year, then it's really important that we greet them with welcome and delight, and then underpin that with whatever the guidance is at that time, giving reassurance. But also it's important right now that we're managing expectations with people about what we can offer, what will be possible, what they can do, what will be the same and what will be different when they return this year. And underpinning all that, many of you have seen me use this before, but it's such an important model of how we balance warmth and process, how we take people from what at the moment will be heightened fear and anxiety. Any sense of anticipation, excitement about the wedding at the moment is totally mixed up with fear and anxiety. And if they don't know you and haven't got to trust the church, that is also underpinned by fear and anxiety about the church's response. So we need to reassure them, to give them confidence and help through our warmth and engagement, build back that excitement so they can discover how much they can trust us and how much, underpinning that, they can trust God, how much God delights in them and their story. Through every wedding, there are moments that matter. This year, there are particular moments that we might think about. I've called it bands and attendance. Keeping in touch with couples has never been more important. And I just want to flag up right now that in 2 weeks' time, 2 weeks from today, 2 weeks on from Sunday, sorry, just gone, it will be Valentine's Day. This is the moment to send those couples whose weddings you've got in the pipeline a card, perhaps even to send those whose weddings you did last year. Just remind that you're praying, thinking of them. It isn't a big church day, but it is a big day in the life of many, many couples. Be in touch, reassure them, let them know what the processes are, and make sure you understand the options and processes. Invite them to join a Zoom service or tell them when your Facebook streaming is happening so they can feel connected, and welcome them in whatever way you can at this time. And then when you get nearer the day itself, think about the moments that will still matter. We might not be able to have a physical rehearsal, but take that time on Zoom to talk them through the day. And then think about these 3 big moments that really matter. How will they enter the church? Use the processes and the words that are there. In the past, we've had that walking down with a parent, but that won't necessarily be possible this year. So how do we do that creatively? And using those alternative words that many of us haven't discovered in the service, that says, do you, the parents of these two, trust them to one another? Using that at a different place in the service. The vows will always be the most special moment in the service, and the other words that are used as well. Thinking about how we involve the guests and how will they leave the church? What possibilities are there for music, and how will you manage the taking of photos, and increasingly manage any form of streaming, either recording for later or being done on Zoom? Really important to think about. Keep it relational and personal. Use both the indoor and outdoor space well. Be warm and engaging, and make sure you involve guests as much as possible, even though there may be a few of them. Lots of people have really enjoyed small weddings this year, found them encouraging, supporting, less stressful, and very memorable. And those few guests that can come have a very special experience, can get to know you in different ways. Don't just assume that the day has to be inadequate, inferior, or disappointing. A small wedding may turn out to be a delight and really deepening things. Keep in touch going forward. Invite and inform to anything you're when we're able to do this, maybe next year, not so this year, forms of wedding blessings, or a lot of people will call it a celebration of their marriage, a celebration of their wedding. So think about the language and include them. Walk alongside them in this next period of time, which is difficult, and help them to think about what it means to live as a married couple. Keep in touch and get them involved. It's keeping in touch that brings people on the journey from mission to discipleship. Make sure they've got some contact details. Think about who they've been able to meet and how they can be kept in touch with. And remember that their experience with your church is also part of their experience of the big, wide Church of England. So it may not be your church that they can connect with, although of course with Zoom and with live streaming, they can connect with the church wherever they are. So real possibilities there to keep in touch. That relationship that goes on past the day is really important. It's our unique feature that we are there for people, whatever happens to them, in good times and in hard times as well. And how we keep in touch will either be a delight, or our failure to keep in touch is a disappointment. Consistently in every piece of research we do, we find that those who've had a service with the Church of England at a significant moment in their life want to be kept in touch with. And over again, they are disappointed that we actually just don't keep in touch. As you know, we have a tool to help you do that keeping in touch life events diary. If you've never discovered it, go to that website and you'll see there are free webinars all the time to help you discover how to use this free online software, which helps with your admin and particularly with keeping in touch. So, all those really good things that we do. And perhaps this year has shown us how well we do these things. One of the most exciting moments for those of us involved in this was that when weddings became possible again on the 4th of July last year, it was church weddings that happened most quickly and effectively. And the reasons they happened in such a gloriously relational, flexible way was because vicars had built relationships with couples. So perhaps we could be thinking, can we attract more? Can we attract people to choose a church wedding? Is this a window of opportunity? There are various reasons why it might be. One, because people are realizing that getting married matters rather than just having a big wedding. So there's something to talk about there. But also that relational quality is so important. The strength of it is so important. We have been able to walk with couples through all these ups and downs, chops and changes, topsy-turvy days. We have been there in touch with them. The registrar doesn't do that in the same way. The celebrant doesn't do that in the same way. We're actually in a relationship with this couple that guides them through, prays with them, supports them through all the changes that happen. And just perhaps we have got some availability. We have heard in a number of registration districts that they're refusing to even to take any more bookings for weddings because they're full with all the ones that have been moved up forward. This will make it complicated and difficult. Whereas perhaps, just perhaps, we have some capacity to say, do you know what? You can come and get married here. So thinking about talking about that and knowing that from our research, people would consider a church wedding if only they knew that they could and that they would be welcome. Especially, and huge numbers of the population still fall into this category, they consider themselves to be Church of England in some way, perhaps they went to a church school, perhaps their parents did, or non-attending Christians. But people have a huge amount of misinformation about church weddings, all kinds of different things. These are some of the commonest that we come across. You need to be baptized, christened. It's one of the commonest thoughts that people have. So we can't ask. People self-exclude. You have to be a churchgoer. And then this really interesting one that I've framed as you need to be a good person. People are very sure that if you come in church, they will be judged as wanting in some way. Some of you have heard me liken this to when a year or so ago, I summoned up the courage that it required to think about joining a gym, because I know that I am not a gym person. I know that I'm not good enough. I know that people like me don't go to the gym. I self-excluded from that. I have made my decision that when I walk in the door, someone's going to look at me and find me wanting. That's how people feel about a church, that they've got to be good people, whatever they think that means. They also think they have to live next door or in the parish, and that's long gone now. The choices that people can make are many. Complex at the moment, but there are still choices that people can make. There's also an understanding that if you have a church wedding, it must equal an expensive wedding. Of course, one of our particular things is that a statutory fee is a statutory fee. And that's what we should be sharing with couples. The basic fee is the same, whether they have 100 people or 10 people. Of course, we then give them the optional extras on top of that. But it's up to them what they do with the day. Getting married in church doesn't mean a posh reception at all. And then that sense that we might be doing something that's very impersonal, whereas in fact, we're able to be creative and warm and engaging in a unique way that's particular to us. You may know others. So how do we address all that? We need to build awareness with people of how open we are, encourage couples to just ask, do it well so that they are sharing stories, telling their friends that their young friends who are present at the wedding, hear about it, see it on Instagram, actually know about it, and build connections with people ahead of the time, with those who may even be thinking about getting married. So we're going to think about how we can do that for a few minutes, how we do it through social media, really, really, really important now, other kinds of publicity, how we might make partnerships and how we pray. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Kathy, who's going to share a bit about something we've been doing recently nationally with social media. So Kathy, it's over to you if you want to make yourself visible.
So hello, it's nice to be here. I'm very rarely front of stage, so bear with me if I'm a little bit nervous. I have a tendency to gabble. I'll try and slow it down. So I've been asked this morning to talk a little bit about an amazing campaign that we did recently for the National Church with confetti. And I want to start with why we decided to do it at all. Before I joined the Church of England, I was an outreach officer for public libraries. And one of the things that we said was, if you want to meet people, go where the people are. Instagram is pretty much where the people are. So young couples, just engaged, full of ideas and enthusiasm, are coming to places like Confetti. So Confetti have about 30,000 followers, and they also have an email list that goes out to about 90,000 people newly engaged, planning their weddings. So that's why we did what we did. Content-wise, it was interesting trying to fit all of those messages that Sandra's just been talking about into all our posts. We wanted to use images and words to their best effect. So we were trying to get across the messages about why a Church of England wedding is really special. It's a special place. The vicar and the church family are there for you, particularly during the pandemic. This is somebody that you can trust, somebody that will be your friend and your ally. Those were really key messages, and our call to action was, please come and talk to us. So as I said, we were using words and images to get those messages across. We've got some lovely images, but the thing that's most important for the whole campaign is stories. Storytelling is the most powerful way to put ideas into the world. And so we have stories to tell here in the church. We have the story of God's love. And we have the stories of hundreds of couples that have got married at our churches, some of which we used. You can use them too. You're all storytellers. Everybody that delivers a sermon, writes an article for a newsletter, storytelling is what gets the message across. So, in the social media posts, we're looking for stopping people from just endlessly scrolling through. And the things that do that are pictures and emotion, warmth and storytelling. My top tip for you is remember your pews: pictures, emotions, warmth and storytelling. And also, as some friends of mine who have a blog about photography say, don't forget the social in social media. So it's really important that in your own posts, you're asking questions, you're engaging people in dialogue, you're inviting them to comment, and you're replying to those comments. You're kind of entering into a relationship with them, which is the start of the warm relationship you're going to have with them when you meet them offline. The other thing you can do is respond very positively to couples who will be sharing their own wedding pictures on social media. Ask them if it would be possible for them to tag you or tag your church, and then just keep an eye out. Be ready to say, we love celebrating your wedding with you. Just engage with them. Say, we wish you all the best for your future, with best wishes from the team at, and then tag your church again, just to reinforce that the church is there for them, not just for the day, but for all the days to come. And the final tip that I have is to engage with all the businesses that surround weddings on social media. So we all know there are florists and there are photographers and there are car hire companies, to name but a few. And all of those businesses are really struggling at the moment. And the best thing that we can do to raise our own social media profile and to show God's love and care to those businesses is to comment on and engage with their posts, follow them, and just thank them for all that they bring to weddings. So I'm just going to end what I say. Just before I go, I'm going to talk about Just Ask. Thank you, Sandra. So Just Ask is a campaign that we've had running for a while now. It's a campaign to tell people that we're here for them, when a child arrives, when a marriage begins, and when a life ends. And all they need to do is ask. And I know that times are tight at the moment and that money is tight across the whole Church of England, and we recognise that. But there are social media graphics, professionally produced, beautiful graphics for each of the life events that are available completely free. All you have to do is download them and then put them on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and they're resized, ready for you. All they need is a comment, and then you can just send them out. And it's that message that we're here. We also have, as you probably know, some vinyl banners to go outside of churches, pop-up banners to go inside churches, and for you to take along with a stand and beautifully produced professional leaflets to things like wedding fairs when they eventually happen again. And just to say that we are thinking about how we can make those available once I'm back at Church House. We have got a stock of banners and we're able to hire them to you. So you don't feel that you need to find the cost of a professional banner. So I hope to be able to get information about all of that to you very soon. And now I'm going to hand back to Sandra.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Kathy, for doing that and for sharing some of the things we're doing. The Just Ask banners designed particularly suitable for churches that have got either a big hedge or particularly railings to tie to. So when you think the time is right to say to people in your community, this building is here for you at these big moments in your life, remember that Lloyds Bank advert and think about putting something outside that tells people just to ask. The fact that the building isn't available this week, this month, next month for them to have a wedding doesn't mean they won't want a wedding in a year or 2 years' time. So now might be the time to begin to say those things to people. It doesn't make any promises. It just says, just ask about what we can do and how we can be there for you. I just want to say a little bit about partnerships, how now is, as Kathy mentioned, a way of supporting and working with people locally. And one of the things is to begin to make contact with venues near you, particularly if you have a venue that will be struggling right now. And many of them are quite keen to work with us. Venues, particularly hotels, are really about the catering. For many of them, having to do a ceremony is just an extra chore, a worry and a responsibility. So becoming a partner with them so that the ceremony is happening with us and then they go on to the reception at the venue, it can be a really good thing. So think about how you can do that. We're thinking of holding a small sort of what we might call a masterclass on how to build partnerships with venues, hearing from some churches who've really done that well. So if you're interested, tell us and we'll let you know when that is happening. Also, think about, as we can open up again, this obviously isn't right now, but what I'm calling your do-it-yourself wedding show. It's not always easy to go to a local wedding show because they often happen on Sunday mornings. But when they're happening again, and check how they're doing them virtually in case you can be part of something, that could be interesting. But for example, could you do a display in your church of weddings, photos of weddings that have happened over the years, including wedding dresses? One church I know has actually in the past, when we could do these things, had it was really like a jumble sale revisited, focused on wedding. It was called a vintage wedding fair, and people could come and sell all the trappings they'd bought for their wedding, and those who were planning their wedding could come and buy them. And at the same time, it was showcasing the church as a venue. Make sure people are aware when you make those partnerships of what we offer. And we have these very nice materials available to tell people about the church. We have the website they can link to, and we even have little weddings business cards that you can leave with local businesses when we're able to get out and about. But right now, begin to build those contacts. Also, think about praying. In time, when we're able to do this, think about even once or twice a year having actual prayer space about marriage and weddings in or outside the church. Perhaps Valentine's Day, even putting something up that encourages people to pray. Think about how you do that in schools as well. And also amplify those moments when you pray for couples and with couples and enable them to pray as well. We're not very good as a church at remembering always to be praying for wedding couples, and they need our prayers right now. Many of them are struggling to sort weddings out. They're disappointed. They're trying to negotiate all the problems and the conflicts. And maybe we could just make sure that we include them in our prayers and that we share that we're praying for wedding couples, all of them, whether we're marrying them or they're getting married elsewhere. Another moment you could share on social media. We have ideas, as you know, about how to do all this on the Church Support Hub, and our printed resources you get from the Church Print Hub. The Support Hub is the one where we get free downloads and so on. So don't forget to have a look at that as well. So as we go towards questions, we've got a good 20 minutes for that. Just a reminder really of why weddings are an opening the doors opportunity for us now and when they can be really open again, which we don't know when it will be, some this year, but certainly we very hope it will be next year and even the year after. Most couples plan up to 2 years ahead. So reflect for a moment on the impact of this year on those couples and remember about praying for them and remember to keep in touch with them, because that's about building that relationship, making them feel special. We have a card available that you can send with a prayer in about the disappointment that they might be feeling and help a prayer for them to use as they plan their day again. If you've sent it once, why not send it again as this crisis goes on? Or if you've not sent such a card, why not look at sending it now? Keep thinking about what will be really significant to couples, the moments in the day that matter. We know what they are from our research, the entry, the vows, the exit. Talk to them about those moments and connect to that, but also connect by keeping in touch. We can never stress that often enough about keeping in touch with couples. Be aware not just of the resources that we have, but also of the context that we're in and how best to communicate. Be aware of how to use social media in particular and publicise what you do. Have confidence that we do a good job and that weddings are an amazing opportunity to reflect God's love, to enable people to share in God's love, to share God's story and help them place their story within that story as well. In many ways, what I wanted the focus to be for today to end is that sense of we're opening the doors, not just through the short term of this year with the couples who may already have booked, but really trying to raise our eyes to think beyond this year. People plan weddings 1, 2 years and more ahead. There is a moment for us to go and reach out to more people and to draw them to not just to having a ceremony at the church, but draw them into that journey of God's amazing love. So let's pray at this moment. Loving God, we give you thanks for that incredible gift of love that we so often know is your love because of the way we experience it in relationships with others, especially when we experience it in those intimate relationships that you draw people into. Thank you for all the ways we've encountered love, for the stories around us of faithful love over many years through sickness and health in all kinds of ways. Thank you too for the stories of new love that we hear and the privilege of standing with couples this year, next year and into the future as they commit to one another for a lifetime of marriage. Stir up in us the creativity and gifts that we need, but above all, give us the heart to build relationship with them that reflects your great love for them. Encourage us now. Reassure us that you are with us in this situation today, whatever it is that we are doing. Your presence, your strength sustains us. Be with each and every person listening this day. Bless them in their ministry, in their homes, and in their love for one another. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you all very much. Do always get in touch directly if we haven't answered anything. Thank you for attending.